Hey, I have info that's honestly to die for. It's really, pressing, important, documented, confidential information that you might want. So be warned that this is very important. You cannot tell anyone. I just got back from LA, and I also went to Hollywood. And I was in the studio, and they were talking about the 9/11 movie. So what this means is that they were talking about it. They're making a movie about 9/11, the tragedy that struck America on 9/11. So what this means is that Hollywood has kind of lost its grip on what is acceptable for America, in my opinion. I mean, they can think whatever they want, I can think whatever I want, but at the end of the day, I'm right, it's just the facts. People are not gonna be happy. It's not the American way. But I was thinking, let's break this thing down maybe a little bit. Let's break it down. What would a 9/11 movie even look like if it were to happen? So let's think about casting, right? I think the, obvious first pick for whoever the main character will be is Mark Wahlberg. I'm thinking the movie will be about, it's an alternate universe where they stop 9/11 as it's happening. And who else would be better than Mark frickin' Wahlberg? He's literally talked at length about how he wants to, quote, he would have saved the day. If he was there on 9/11, he would have stopped it. He said that. So he's a good pick. I think if we're gonna have like a guy in the chair, a tech guy who's talking to Mark Wahlberg, telling him what's going on, we have to have Jesse Eisenberg. He played Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network, and that guy was a tech genius. So I think really it just makes sense that a tech genius should play a tech genius, even if it's not actually Mark Zuckerberg. It's just Jesse Eisenberg, but we know him as Mark Zuckerberg, right? It's the only movie he's ever been in. So, my Dasher just... Okay. They're telling me to turn my lights on outside. So that's what I think. I think the love interest would probably have to be Scarlett Johansson, Famously, they have some tension between them. They've had a history, but that's okay. That's okay. They'll make it work. They're actors. They can just act like everything's fine, right? So the setting. I think obviously the setting should be, the perfect setting for 9/11 would be New York City, but that's what everyone thinks about. But we have to think about, are we just doing the Twin Towers, or are we doing all the events of 9/11? Like the Pentagon, the attempted attack on the White House, and the Twin Towers. That's a lot of shit. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we can probably just focus on the Twin Towers since most people care about that, right? If we put the Pentagon in 9/11, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I think if we put the White House in there, it wouldn't make much sense because it didn't even get attacked. They tried, but people overpowered the people on the plane and took over. DoorDash keeps telling me to turn my light on, but I don't want to. Obviously there's some issues. Many people get offended about 9/11, the subject matter, because yes, famously, a lot of people died in that tragedy. It was a deadly tragedy. It was horrible for America. But who's actually going to be offended? I feel like it's not going to be making fun of 9/11, right? It's not making fun of it. It's not exactly capitalizing off of it either. It is a movie that we're selling, but it's a historic biopic, as they call it. We need to, and honestly, if you're offended by, so let's say you're watching Lincoln and Abraham Lincoln dies, right? Are you gonna get offended by that because it actually happened in real life and it was a freaking tragedy? I didn't think so. So if we were respectful enough about 9/11 in this 9/11 movie, I'm pretty sure we can get away with it. People are gonna cancel us on Twitter, but go ahead and cancel me. If you think 9/11 is that offensive, go ahead and cancel me because I'm passionate about this. And it's not even my movie. This is all speculation, but, you know, if it doesn't get made, if it's just like yanked out of production, I think that's an opportunity for me to just make the movie. I already have like all these ideas that I'm giving you, all these ideas. And if you crowdfund me, link in bio, we'll be able to fund this movie. What would it be called? I think it would be called, The Twins. No, reminds me of The Parent Trap. That's kind of a comedy, so we wouldn't want to conflate the two at all. Towers. Oh, that's just boring. That's boring. 9/11's not boring. I got it. 9/11. It's called 9/11. Yeah? I think that if we really want to make things interesting, we should bring George W. Bush into the mix. And I don't know if he's still alive, but if we can get him in the actual movie and just like age him down with special effects, I think that'd be a masterpiece. So, like, okay, we're gonna ignore the whole Bush did 9/11 thing. Like, that's just bullshit. This is bullshit. People are gonna be talking about that whether it's in the movie or not. So, there's no point in trying to start a conversation that's already happening. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the famous picture of George Bush being told, our second plane has hit the towers. But we're not going to see his reaction to the first ones. We're just going to see him in a classroom. In this scenario, he's in the middle of reading books to children in a classroom. I think it adds an extra level of tragedy to the mix. You know what I'm saying? Like, 9/11, yeah, it's a tragedy, but this is a movie. We needed to have spectacle. Hey guys, sorry I'm back. I just had to get my food that arrived. So, we were on the topic of George Bush. I think that it should be like... Ooh, this is good. I got Five Guys. Just give me 1 sec.